Hi, loves. Blessed Beltane to you. So I'm in the midst of preparing tomorrow. I start the last in this four-part seasonal ritual arts immersion series, right? We started with solstice, went to Imbolc, to equinox, spring equinox, and now Beltane, moving from alliance, holy alliance with darkness, with light, with wisdom, and now with the love that abides. And so this time, for those of you who are in the Northern Hemisphere with me, is a time when generally, life has moved from the depth of the fallow, solstice, to the first light, Imbolc, into the balancing point, the pause, the holy pause there at equinox. And now it's moving into its fullness, the fullness of rebirth, the fullness of fertility, the fullness of the miracle of creation, right? And I wanted to, you are welcome to join us for the series, obviously all the information is there, but whether or not you do, I wanted to really invite you to have a moment to acknowledge certain aspects of your sacred nature at this time, because it's very much in alignment with where the seasonal wheel is. So I have three invitations. Let me look at them. Okay, one is to renew your vows. So one of the things that often happens at Beltane, so Beltane, many of us know it as May Day, right? It's, the maypole, the celebration of spring, the celebration of fertility, right? And part of that in more ancient rite, yes, it's a community ceremony. Yes, it's a celebration of fertility and all these things. And it's also, there's the ancient rite of the sacred marriage during that time, the bestowal of kingship through the body of priestess as an embodiment of the earth, right? The ancient rite. So there are many levels of things going on, and what I would share with you, particularly in terms of renewing vows, are some of the things that have become really meaningful for me in terms of personal ceremony and personal honoring at this time of year, because it's one of the, for me it is in many ways the high holy day. It's been a very important one. So renewing your vows, the invitation well, for me anyway, every time Beltane comes around, I go and sit with the Beltane fire and I offer up my sexuality and I let it go. I offer it to the place from which it was given, right? From a goddess or God, whatever, from creation, and then I ask for guidance. I ask to know, to be shown for this next cycle. How will I hold this? What should I know about how I'm going to hold my own sexuality, right? And I mean, this started for me maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was after, many difficult relationships, a completely, it was right after my marriage had finally ended, and there was a lot of pain there, and I went to the Beltane fire, and I went with this. It was a level of sincerity, a level of true vow in me that I hadn't felt to that point, which was I went and I sat, and I found from the center of me, I said, from here on out, my sexuality is for worship only. It doesn't matter to me if it's one holy day out of the year or it's every day of my life, but it needs to be held with reverence, right? I had gone through a lot with pornography addiction and that marriage and all these things. So, and it's not that I hadn't said that before or that hadn't been a part of my awareness before, but there was a way in which it had landed so fully in my being. Like it was so true. Like I had carved out something so thoroughly that I could feel this vow come from deep inside of me. And now then, every time Beltane comes, I go and I sit by the fire and I really ask. I renew that vow to myself. I ask myself honestly, where am I in relationship to that vow? And I ask to be shown. I listen. I just kind of sit in silence with the fire and I listen for anything that's revealed from my deeper place or from my deeper knowing. So I would invite that for you, some level of just taking a moment to like your vow to yourself, your vow of devotion to yourself as a steward, you as the steward of what you contain, including, and especially at this time around Beltane, your sexuality, your fertility as a being, right? Your fecundity, right? The gift that that is. So renewing your vows. The second invitation I would make, so let's see, renew your vows to your own sacred nature. Jump the flame for purification of all that has passed this year. So one of the things that happens in Beltane as a, as a holy day celebration is, we build the Beltane fire, right? And couples and people jump over it, right? And jumping over the fire is, a symbolic, it's an act of ritual power to say that you jump over these flames of purification, that what has been, you're now on the other side of that, right? Jumping the flames. And, maybe or not, you're going to have an actual Beltane fire to sit around or to jump or whatever. Or maybe you can just light a candle and sit with that candle and be present to the flame and the power of fire, the transmutational power of fire, and just kind of usher yourself across a threshold, right? That's what it is. It's the wheel is turning, right? And the wheel is turning into rebirth here at Beltane. And we jump the fire and we ask the fire, right? It's not as simple as, I choose to be over this threshold and to purify and to let go of all that has passed this whole past year around my sexuality, right? Again, for me, a lot of this at this holy day has to do with your sexuality, your creativity, your life force, your own essence. So you can take that time. This is an amazing time to also sit and just reflect on, be present to. What have you been through this past year? What have you been given? What have you endured? What beauty has happened through sexuality for you? Whether that's been, you've taken a year to be alone and to just keep all of your energy for yourself, and what has that brought for you? What fruition has been there? Whether it has been that you've had, difficulty, you've been struggling to navigate a sexual intimacy, or whether that's you've met someone and you've been brought into a union that feels so beautiful and right? We want to take a moment here before the Beltane fire and just assess, and then jump over the fire and let ourselves be purified of that, really be washed clean by the fire, so that there is this, this time of renewal. That's what we're working with during Beltane, is that promise, that covenant, that we will be renewed and that we will be served, right? That you don't have to, in a lot of the deep feminine arts, and this is a lot of what we talk about in her mystery school and elsewhere, is that there's a continual invitation to be served, right? So you jump the flame, and yes, you've made the decision to jump it, and you've made the decision, you've worked things maybe to be more aware of your patterns, etc., etc. You've made decisions. But when you jump the fire, you're actually allowing the fire to serve you. You are allowing the fire to burn away what no longer serves. There's an effortlessness to it. We receive the help of the turn of the wheel. We receive the help of natural law and of this pure element of flame, right? So that's my second thing, is to jump the flame for purification of all that is past this year. There's an element of purification in Beltane, actually. So we've got renewing your vows to your own sacred nature, jumping the flame, kind of aligning with the purification power of this season, and then crown yourself with flowers, right? Wear the garlands of your true nature. So, one of the other things that we do in Beltane is we, gather flowers. We gather some of the blossoms that are in such abundance now, and we'll use them to weave whatever, to weave a crown with whatever we find, like whatever's blossoming. So, many times here, where I am, it's lilacs that are blossoming. And so, one of our Beltane ceremonies, I don't know who it was, they came with like bags of lilac blossoms. And so it was just this, it's the cornucopia, it's the it's the incredible generosity and abundance and refinement and beauty of creation that we celebrate during this time. We celebrate her, yeah, her beauty, her nectar, her fragrance, right? There's such, it's a celebration of that. It's a deep gratitude for that. It's an honoring of that. And garlanding yourself with flowers has to do with crowning yourself with this aspect of creation, right? Crowning yourself with the generosity and beauty of nature, right? Of her, you know, I don't know if you how much you've been watching it or where you are in the world, but for me, it was a long winter of everything around me bare. And I feel more aware than ever, maybe it's because of everything that's been happening in the world, of the miracle of all these bare branches now literally pouring with pink blossoms and lilac petals and fragrance. So anyway, to crown yourself with flowers, metaphorically or otherwise, or to somehow bring the beauty of this into your life. Maybe it's just that you put some of the flowers on your altar or in your home, or you just attune to this and know that you are that, right? That, you know, every time the wheel turns, we recognize that this is a different aspect of what we are. This is what you are. You are part of the renewal and resurrection of creation. This isn't just happening around you. This is happening within you. This is what you are. So there's a very, you know, you crown yourself with that because it is your true nature. It's both a bow towards nature in her all of her glory and miracle, and it's a bow towards your true nature. Realizing, remembering that you are this. This lives in you. This kind of surge and sap rising and petals opening and fragrance coming from, you know, a secret place. That's you. And that's here to sanctify and bless you at this time of Beltane. So that's what I offer to you. I know that, you know, I would love to have as many of you who want to join us. We start tomorrow with a 90-minute kind of depth teaching, and we'll share a practice around the lovemaking of heaven and earth. Then there's guidance. We'll all be in personal ritual on the holy day, and then we connect again on Wednesday for reflection. And then I create a practice. This one will be specifically around the lovemaking of heaven and earth to basically kind of carry this through, right? Carry the energy of this through until, you know, roughly 6 weeks from now, and the next turn of the wheel into summer solstice. So you are welcome to join me, us for sure. All the information is below. Regardless, I really do hope that you take a moment, and it might take something to, depending on where you are, it might take something to be willing to even turn toward and have faith again in the renewal of creation. It might take a minute. It might take you making a decision to cancel a plan or pull back on some busyness in order to take this holy time with yourself. But I really hope you do. Just to honor deeply, remember deeply where your vow really lies. To give yourself this moment of real purification, to be served by this turn of the wheel and freed, liberated into what you will become, how you will create and be created in this next turn of the wheel. And then to crown yourself, to really deeply honor what you are and call all that Beltane is, all that this springtime, resurrecting, renewing miracle of lifetime is. Let it fill you so your reservoirs are full for the fallow times, right? This is how we work the wheel. We just move fully into all of it so that by the end we're in completion. All right. Blessed Beltane to all of you.